Welcome, everyone, to the 23rd Annual Rutgers Jewish Film Festival. The festival is sponsored by the Alan and Joan Bildner Center for the Study of Jewish Life at Rutgers University. I'm Karen Small. I'm the director of the festival. I'm delighted to be with you here today. I want to let you know that our festival is running 8 virtual films the week of November 6th through the 13th. So if you're watching this in that week, you still have time to watch some of our virtual films. Go to our website and you'll be able to get all the information. We also offer programs throughout the year, both in person and virtually, also available on our website. Take a look while you're there. Today, I am delighted that we will be having a conversation about the Israeli film, More Than I Deserve, directed by Pini Tavger. Pini is an Israeli filmmaker and actor. He's the director also of the film, one of the directors of the film Water from 2012, and the writer and director of the film Weitzman Street number 10 from 2006. Pini also had done a short film. I had seen it quite a while ago and liked it quite a bit, called Pinchas. I don't recall how short it was, in 2008. And today's film, More Than I Deserve, is based on that short film. And I hope we'll hear about that process of what it means to take that work and create a feature film from it. And I'm very happy to tell you all that interviewing Pini today is Michal Aviad, professor at Tel Aviv University's Steve Tisch School of Cinema and Television, and a visiting Israeli filmmaker at the Bildner Center this fall. Michal's recent films include Working Woman, which won an Ophir Award, and Dimona Twist, a documentary which won Best Documentary Film at the Jerusalem Film Festival and was screened at our Rutgers Jewish Film Festival back in 2017. Michal, thank you so much for joining us today, and Pini, and we look forward to your conversation.
Hi.
Okay, thank you, Karen. Pini, hi.
Hi.
Let's really start from this short, long film. You made a film by the name of Pinchas. Was it your graduation film or the one
yes,
after?
Exactly.
Yeah, and which was really successful and traveled around the world. And then you decided to expand it into a feature film.
Yeah.
Why did you do that?
At the beginning, I didn't want to do it at all. I wanted to do something else. And I wrote a film, and the lead character was a man like me, maybe even older. I didn't want to do any more films with kids. I had enough. I wanted to, because I'm an actor, to work with actors, with adults like me. And I wrote something, and I didn't raise the money to do it. But I always had this Pinchas idea to extend it because I like recycling. I recycle a lot in my life. I recycle themes. As an actor, I recycle myself. I recycle different parts of my personality and my look. And also, when I did the 10 Weitzman Street, which is my first film, it was shot on film, 16 millimeters in 2006. It was a recycling of another film that I did as a student. And the water project in 2012 was a recycling of something else. So I always kind of try to take the same things and to extend it if it's possible. And after I didn't raise the money for one of the projects, so I started to think about this Pinchas thing, and I thought to myself, if this kid was older, maybe in bar mitzvah age, what was his life, or how can I see this life? And I kind of developed it through many years. I thought about this till I wrote the script, and then it just happened quickly after I decided to do it.
Okay, could you, Pini, tell us more about the relation between you, your name is Pini, Pinchas,
Yes.
and your character? I mean, when did you come to Israel? What was your experience as an immigrant? You know, I think that very often, especially in Israel, because of Zionism, we don't deal with the pain of being immigrants. It's something that Zionism is, you know, doesn't deal with, because getting to Zion is so wonderful that we're all happy ever after. But it seemed, I understand that you were a child, right? Like Pinchas, when you came to Israel?
No.
No.
My parents actually came in the 70s.
I see. So you are from the old generation.
I was born in Jerusalem.
Mm.
Actually, to immigrants that came, especially to Israel, to live in Israel, ran away from Russia and the Ukraine, both from the Ukraine and the other from Russia. And then they came here and met here, and I was born here. But I kind of have like a renaissance with the Russian roots, because first of all, I heard Russian till my parents got separated. When I was kid, I heard from grandma. I was always speaking Russian, so I know the language very well. But I forgot about it, and I wanted to be a Moroccan, not a Russian kid. I wanted to be Moroccan. I wanted to eat all this spicy food, to go around with kids that are not Russian. But afterwards, when I started to be an actor, I met the Gesher Theater, which is a Russian-Israeli theater. And then my romance with Russian started, and my Russian roots. So I improved my language, and I started to deal with Russian subjects. So this kid in the film is a combination of me, my relations with my mother, the feeling that I'm although I was born in Israel, I was a son of immigrants, and I felt all the time this immigration stuff. My mother she was always like a princess from Kiev, living in the suburbs of Haifa. And I always felt this not exactly, combining with reality, with what is going, and all this lack of connection to the place. My mother always dreaming about Paris, about Italy, not about Haifa. So I think there is a combination between me, but it's not parallel, It's not like biographical 100%.
I see. Okay. And can you say, okay, and then you decided that you're going to make this film that, we just saw, and after all, you decided that you need a kid to play the main role. And who is the kid? How did you work with the kid? How come you found this kid? What was the process?
Actually, very spiritual, because this kid was growing nearby me, because he's a son of a director, Leon Podolsky. I was playing in this graduation film of this director. There was a photo, or I think not a photo, a shot of a kid in this graduation film of Leon Podolsky. In this shot was this kid when he was 1 year old. So I know this kid, and I saw him all the time. And when I thought about the kid playing in the long film, I just instinctively thought about this kid, because he has the right look, the kind look that I wanted. Something painful, something broken, something sometimes violent, sometimes something a bit cold. And I kind of fell in love in this kind of character, because Pinchas could be something else. In the short film, he's kind of softer, different colors of kids. But in this kid was also a good match to the actress. They look together like a mother and a child. And because of the resemblance, and because he's intelligent, He's very intelligent, this kid. I always just told him what you feel and what you think in the scene. I just told him, you go, you get inside, you do this, you think this, and he just did the things, and it was enough.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. Tell me, and he speaks Russian?
Yeah, of course.
He does. So again, so why of course? I mean, he was born in Israel, a son of immigrants, right?
Yeah, right, like me, exactly like me, but a generation after.
Okay, okay. And it's in the film, it's very, very similar to what we know from immigrants, both in the United States and in Israel. He speaks Hebrew to his mom, and she, of course, answers him in Russian. I remember it from my parents. You know,
Yeah.
I'm a daughter of immigrants, and everybody who is, you know, we want to be like the place we came to. And still, you know, with our parents, it's always a mixture. So I thought that maybe intuitively, maybe you knew it. I mean, you did things very close to the way.
Thank you. Yeah, it was in purpose. It was in purpose. That's the way I was connecting with my mother. And also I know it's a mixture. He says a word in Russian, but then
he moves to Hebrew.
And it's also a matter of state of mind. I mean, I speak Hebrew. I'm here. You don't tell me what to think, where to be, what to think, where to go. So, I mean, Hebrew is also a statement.
It's a
I
statement
belong here.
And it's power.
Yes.
You know, I might be just a child, but there are things that I know better than you.
Of course, yes.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I really did.
Thank you very much.
Do you mind if let's move to the character of the mother? I mean,
Yes.
the character of Shimon, just let me start. The character of Shimon, Yaakov Zada is one of the greatest actors we have in Israel, I believe.
Of course, yes.
Recently, he played in this beautiful film by a colleague of ours, which is called Valeria is Getting Married. And
yes.
he's really a wonderful actor. Anything he touches, he does beautifully. And I think that he did the work here amazingly well.
Yeah, he was, okay, you want to talk about
okay, just
I told him to go to speak with the same character as he played. Maybe not very dark like his character, but dark as but I have a friend that became religious, Chabad, and he just went to talk with him to see the way he speaks, even the way he moves, the hand gestures, everything. He just copied it. I mean, he get involved by his own inside. I mean, he how do you say, he got connected to the character, but he also imitated a bit the Chabad way, some of the gestures, and he was like really, really researching. And for me, the rehearsals were very, very important because I knew I'm going to shoot very fast. So we had the time to develop the characters. And he did it very, 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 very intensively.
I also saw that it was extremely precise, you know, because like everybody else, also here in New York, by the way, not only in Israel, I meet the Chabad people all the time, and I always feel like, wow, you know, if I stop and for me as a woman, I can take candles from them to do, of course, and it's like I said, I was like, wow, do I give them another mitzvah today? So he is really exactly the kind of soft-spoken, charismatic guy that I can imagine. And I see and I meet. But I want to talk about the actress, not only about the actress, but also about your writing and your directing for her, if I may.
Yes.
Anna Dobrovsky, I'm not sure where I saw her in cinema, but there is something about her that is very much plays all the time with a stereotype of female Russian women who came to Israel. And I wonder what exactly was in your mind, and how did you develop her?
I wanted to stretch the stereotype a bit. I knew that there is something stereotype in the character, but I wanted to stretch it because I wanted to stretch the stereotype to think
Just a
about
moment,
her.
Pini, let me just, I'm sorry, we're saying stereotype, but maybe our listeners don't know what we're talking about. So let me just say in one sentence, the stereotype of the Russian immigrant who comes to Israel is of her being extremely sexual, and Russian women really complain all the time that they are looked down upon as if they were prostitutes, or all the negative stereotypes women can have. So that's what we are referring to, Pini and me.
Well, I wanted her to be desperate. I wanted her to seek for love and get it by sex because she didn't have a better opportunity. I wanted her to be from a poor economical situation, like my mother and I were. So it's the same. Maybe her appearance, her Slavic appearance, and also the thing with the sex and the alcohol, but all the things that I wanted from this character were specific, the things that I saw in my mind, and there are people like this. Somehow, maybe it fell into the stereotype because maybe some of the things that I imagined in this character are things that a lot of people think about Russian women: sexual, looking for men. But in my imagination, it wasn't a stereotype. It was a reality. She looked for love desperately, and she used maybe her sexuality for that.
Saying that you meet these kind of characters, and what you were looking for was her search for love.
Yes.
And okay. I actually thought that it was had to do with something a little, it corresponds with what you are saying, but I thought it has more to do, which is really interesting to me, is the fact that Pini as Pinchas as a boy, for a boy who is trying to enter the boys group, meaning football and so on, there is nothing more shameful than a mother who shows her sexuality.
Yes.
And I thought that's where, that actually from the point of view of the boy, she is sexual on the border of too much.
Yes.
That was my interpretation, at least.
Yeah, but this is the reality I wanted to create. I wanted to create something that is the shaky there in this thing. I mean, it's also a story about Oedipus, you know. It's about the Palic connection between the boy and his mother. So it deals also with this kind of things.
Okay.
I don't want to explain too much, but
Yeah.
all this sexual thing is it's in purpose in my film. I wanted to deal with this thing.
Okay.
About the sexual and the tension between the kid and his mother.
I really love the way the film is done so intimately, and we don't exit, we don't go out of the neighborhood, this poor neighborhood, and we are all the time in these areas. We just for a second we go into the mother's work, but I think that that's it.
Yes.
And I really, there is something extremely modest about it. And of course it has to do with budget, but I wonder in terms of cinema, what were you thinking about?
Well, yeah, it's a mixture of, first of all, the script the majority of the script is happening in a flat, in their home. It's like a cage. It's like maybe something that it's difficult to go out from it. And in the end, you end in this apartment, you know. So it's also about the script. But also when you have a lower budget, so you need to have how to say, to to decide what kind of where you put the energy, the money. And I felt that the energy, the directing, and the how do you say, the heart of the film is the apartment. So the majority of the things is happening there in close shots, in a feel that something is closing on you. The the lens is wide a bit sometimes, and the house is very small, so you feel all the time between the walls. That was very important for me cinematically.
Yeah, I think it's beautiful. You need to raise your voice because it's hard, it's hard to
Wow, I
hear
don't know
you.
what to do because this is
No, now it's good. Now it's good.
okay, so I'll just raise my voice. That's it. Okay. I will
Yeah,
speak like
yeah,
in the theater, loudly.
exactly.
Yes, I will
That's
speak
why
loud.
the interview is just
Actually, I
because you're an actor.
what?
I said that you are interviewed just because you are an actor.
Okay.
I'm joking.
Yes. Actually, usually I'm interviewed as an actor, not as a director. Director is like
Yes, but
something that is,
here, you made
yeah,
a film. That's it.
yeah, yeah, that's it.
Uh,
Yes.
okay, so I want to go to a different subject that is for me in terms of on the level of themes. It's the most, it's the newest thing that I've never thought about it before seeing your film, and that's the bar mitzvah issue. I think that what you do here is you're combining something that I don't think that was done in Israeli cinema, and that's that the entrance into Israeli society, usually the entrance into male Israeli society, of course, we're talking only about males. I mean, girls are
Yes.
totally different, and Pinchas has no interest in girls at this point.
Yes,
But
exactly.
we don't see any girl. But in terms of the ticket to enter Israeli society, traditionally in the cinema, is being going to the army, going at least being in a youth movement, doing all kinds of manly things, and developing your manly body. Here you're doing something interesting because you're combining him wanting to be part of the soccer game of football, which is extremely prevalent, and that's the traditional way of entering a male society in Israel and in many other places. But the bar mitzvah is like totally new in the sense that all of a sudden through your film, and through the ham in the omelet that you show, I understood that when Russian Jews, I don't want to generalize, but when many Russian Jews come to Israel, they have to overcome two hurdles. One is becoming Jews, and the second is becoming Israelis. So I'd love you to elaborate on that, because I really think that this point is a fascinating point in your film.
Thank you. First of all, my mother told me when I was 6 years old, I wanted to be religious. This is the reason I did the short film Pinchas. And in the short film, you have 6 years old, kid, willing to be in a family of religious people and started to be religious, although he doesn't
Raise your
understand what
voice.
he's starting to be religious.
Mm.
And when I was 6 old, I became religious for 2 weeks because I wanted to be different. And then my mother told me, when you are going to be 13, I mean, when you have bar mitzvah, so you will decide. Now you are my boy, when you will be a man. And somehow this sentence stayed in my mind, and I think that the idea came from there intuitively. Like, now I'm dealing with Pinchas that becoming a man, and now he needs to decide. And also, I know from my experience, I had personally a bar mitzvah because my parents came in the 70s. They were Zionists, and they were even half of them were religious, and bar mitzvah was not a question. But when I saw these people came in the 90s, some of them didn't do Brit Milah even. Can you explain what is? Oh, it's like it's a known.
Circumcision.
Yes, and
Circumcision.
yes, and I have a friend, Andre, from childhood, that he had a question if to do a bar mitzvah or not to do a bar mitzvah. Eventually, he didn't do a bar mitzvah. So around this bar mitzvah thing, that you're becoming a man and you're becoming like an adult Jew, one of the people, one of
Community.
the community, the men community, and I saw that it's an issue for people. Me personally, I was just observing this issue because personally I had the bar mitzvah as everyone expected. But for this kid, it's not. Some of these kids doesn't do. They don't do bar mitzvah because of many reasons. Parents doesn't want them to do. They are not sure they want this um, religious ceremony. A lot of fear about this also. Not all of the immigrants from Russia, they do bar mitzvah. Even I think in Israel, not all the people that are not religious, not everyone does bar mitzvah. It's like a
Absolutely.
question. Yes,
Of course, it's a question in Israel for sure. I mean, I think that
yes,
the majority are having bar mitzvah.
yes, the majority.
But people who came from the former USSR places, for 3 generations, they were totally secular. So very often, even if they are from, like Pinchas is from his great amazing grandfather from the Ukraine, who has all this amazing Jewish tradition. I mean, 3 generations have passed by and nobody
Yes,
remembers what it was like. And all of a
course.
sudden to go back to Judaism is in some way to betray your parents and your grandparents. So it's
Yes,
interesting. It's a kind of a process that we don't, at least me as somebody who is not part of the Russian immigration, I never heard of this issue of having to come back into Jewishness. I know that many are not Jews at all. We know that.
yes,
But
yeah, of course.
but also the going back into Jewishness is something that is not talked about, or not talked much more into nationalism, into being an Israeli, being strong, being this, being that. But the Jewish part of it, you do it in a totally different way than the way I was exposed to in the past. And I think it's interesting.
Thank you. I mean, it's a question. If you are half Jewish and half Christian, which can happen if you came in the 90s, so will you do a bar mitzvah or not? Will you go to a church maybe, or maybe you just stay atheist like your grandfather from the, as you said, from the former USSR? It's a question. It's not it's not always known what to do. It's a question that many of these kids are asking, to do or not to do a bar mitzvah.
For this kid, it's obviously having a bar mitzvah is the gate to be accepted into Israeli society the way he sees it, and to distance himself from his mom, who, you know, who is not interested in that, understands, sorry, now I'm bringing my own opinions, and his mom understands perfectly well that the Chabad there are there to brainwash his mind, and you know, she's not part of it. And in some ways, he's saying to her, "But I'm different than you are," you know.
Yes, when I was a kid, actually, when I was a kid in the neighborhood, in my poor neighborhood, there were Chabad guys that came to the neighborhood, and they asked kids to pray. You say a prayer, and then you get a popsicle or you know, a toy. And my mother, she was a bit afraid of that. I mean, she's secular, Chilonit.
Secular, yeah.
Yes, she was secular, and she didn't want me to be in a connection with this kind of voodoo people for her, you know, people that do this kind of things. But I tried in the film to give some deep point of view about Chabad. I mean, to show the duality about this movement and this character. I mean, eventually, it's the story. The story is a bit sad about the connection between the Russian woman and the Chabad guy, but you see he has a real conflict inside his heart. He's in love with her, but it's a problem for him, and it's like a conflict between love and the things I need to do, you know.
More than that, even I think that he you know, his character is really complex. He has to choose between love and being saved, because religion saves him from being a junkie, from this, from that. And even though he is a womanizer, we cannot but love him, you know.
Yes, because he's weak. He's not really strong, and he's human, and he's
yeah. Karen, do you have anything you'd like to interject, say, ask?
Thank you, Michal. No, I don't think so. I mean, you raised so many interesting issues and so many interesting issues about Israeli society that the film touches on, but by hearing Pini's experience and Michal, you bringing them out, I was so interested to hear you talk about the film and the use of the bar mitzvah as the entryway, because, you know, they chose also to live in that neighborhood, or maybe she didn't have a lot of choice.
No, it's not a choice.
You know, but in a building with religious neighbors, which is kind of interesting too, to see that that's where they're living. And then in the school,
it happens. It happens.
Yeah, but
can you talk into the mic? Yeah. Go.
I say it happens. This combination, this strange combinations in this kind of neighborhoods, you have a mixture of Russian, a bit religious, different people, really.
On the actually, these are the neighborhoods where immigrants settle in because of lack of money, and these are the neighborhoods where religious people settle in because of lack of money, many children, and so on. Usually Mizrahi Jews, but not only. These are Mizrahi Jews. It's very, very prevalent, and there is no choice of where to live, you know, in this class. You just live wherever you live.
Where the interesting thing about
the interesting thing about the Russian Jewish immigrants is that being teaching at Tel Aviv University, very often in the 90s and the beginning of and until now, I have students whose parents, I'm sure that Pini knows a lot of people like that, whose parents are cleaners or guards in big parking lots, and they make films about it. And
Yes.
their generation jump a class very easily. It's so similar to what happened in this country with the immigration, with Jewish immigration a few generations ago, you know. So that's
It's
a
always the
reality
same
in
story.
Israel.
It's universal. I think it's universal for all the places in the world, almost. The parents, they are coming, they are weak, it's everything is new, and the kids, they want to be a part of this place.
We're seeing a few films coming out now from Israel. I think of this year, more than I've seen in a while, about Russian immigrants in society, trying to integrate. We're showing another film this week in person called The Dinner. Don't know if you've seen it yet, but about a Russian couple. They've come to Israel, and he's an engineer, works as a bouncer at a club because he can't get a job, you know. So it's interesting. We've seen a few, and I feel like I haven't seen one for a while. There was a great film years ago that we showed. Of course, now I can't think of the name, but it's something that's, you know, more filmmakers, more Russian filmmakers or with Russian backgrounds, I think we're seeing, are making films.
Yeah.
Well, thank you both very much. Really appreciate your time being with us today. Pini, we love your film.
Thank you very much.
It's going to be showing, well, people who are watching us now will have already seen it, but for me in real time, it's showing next week in our festival. So we're looking forward to that and to your next film, your next project.
Thank you very much.
You'll let us know.
Of course.
Okay, please do.
Yes.